Good evening, yearning to learn middle school students. This is Mrs. McLaughlin and I'm a teacher at Scott Johnson Middle School, and I'm going to be pre-teaching square roots, the vocabulary that you'll need to know to do your lessons tomorrow, or maybe for some of you it's just a review. So if you'll open your journal to whatever page your teacher has assigned you to take these notes on, we're going to write the title at the top, Square Roots. And then we want to set up our page for Cornell Notes. So we're going to write summary down here. Okay, up here are our questions. And over here we keep the notes. So my question is, what is a square root? And I would like for you to write this definition. Square root is the side length of a square when we know the area. Side length of a square when the area is known. Okay, now I want you to draw this symbol. Okay, this is the radical symbol. And this is what we use in math when we want to demonstrate a square root. So I want you to put EX here for example, and our first example is going to be the square root of 25. So the meaning of this is what number times itself would equal 25. So we have two numbers, and it has to be the same number that you would multiply together that would equal 25, and that number would be 5. So in a textbook you might see a problem that says simplify the square root of 25. So you would say that that equals 5. Now I'd like for you to draw a visual with me of what the square root of 25 would look like. So we're going to draw a square, and we can just use the lines on your notebook paper, and I want you to draw down 5. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we want to draw a square the best that you can. And then extend that down. Okay. So right now we have 5 squares. So we're going to keep extending the rows across until we have 25 squares. So now we have 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, and if you want to go ahead and fill these in across, we can do that. So this square has an area of 25, so I'm going to write 25 across it. Area of 25. Now, we already know that the side length is 5, but we want to prove that using the square root. So the definition said that a square root is the side length of a square when we know the area, and we know the area is 25. So the side length from here to here is the square root of 25, and we know that the square root of 25 equals 5. So all the way around the square, the side lengths are 5 units. Okay, and this would be a perfect square. Okay, the next question is, what do you do when it's not a perfect square? What do you do when it's not a perfect square? So we're going to use the example, the square root of 20. Now, if you were to use a calculator to find the square root of 20, you would find that this is an irrational number because it never terminates and it never repeats. It just goes on and on. So what we want to do is we want to estimate what we think the square root of 20 would be. So we're going to make an estimate, which means to approximate the answer. You're going to make a good guess. Sometimes you're using rounding when you make estimates. So you want to think to yourself, on the number line, what would be just to the left of the square root of 20 that would be a perfect square, and what would be to the right of 20 that is a perfect square. So you might just kind of start running through the perfect squares in your mind, like 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25, 6 times 6 is 36. So that helps me determine that the square root of 20 is somewhere between the square root of 16, which when I simplify that, I would get 4, and the square root of 25, which when I simplify that, I would get the whole number 5. So I'm going to write all the square roots that are in between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. Okay, I didn't leave enough room. I'm going to have to move this over. I hope you're using a pencil. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. So the middle would be right here, which would be 4.5. Now we were trying to find the square root of 20. So we know that it's somewhere between 4.0 and 4.5. So a good estimate might be something like 4.4. And that would be my estimate for the square root of 20. So at this time, I would like for you to write a summary about what the notes that we have just taken on this page. And if you have me for a student, you know, if you look on page 2 in your journal, if you need some help getting started, there's some sentence stems. So if any of these help, then you can use these getting started sentence stems to write your summary. See you tomorrow in class.